Welcome to the Tax Alpha Solutions podcast, hosted by Matt Chansey. Matt is a tax consultant, author, and certified financial planner with almost 2 decades helping his clients grow their net worth. On the show, Matt brings together an array of specialists to share with you their experience and success along with strategies of the 1%. Matt Chansey is with Coastal One, member FINRA SIPC. And now, here's your host, Matt Chansey.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, rather. I apologize. This afternoon, we have a special guest on our podcast. This is another episode of the Tax Alpha Solutions podcast, and today we have Roman Beylin. And Roman is the founder of DueDilio. Now, by the way, really catchy name. I love that. DueDilio is an expert network focused on M&A due diligence. They connect business buyers, sellers, intermediaries, and private investors with a best-in-class, pre-vetted due diligence service providers. And they've got a growing network, expanding constantly, vetting out new professionals, bringing them in. DueDilio, doing the dealio. I like that. So, Roman, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. So, I guess, what made you, where did this come from, this idea of people that are going to do business deals? And, I don't even think everybody knows what due diligence is per se in the M&A space unless you're doing it. So where did this come from? What was the epiphany that said this is a business that needs to exist?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, I was a little bit selfish. I launched this business to solve my own problem. So I was doing a couple of small deals, online service businesses, and I've always kind of had trouble putting together my deal team. When you're doing large deals, there's a lot of solutions, easy solutions, right? You can go to Deloitte, KPMG, all these, brand names. But when you're doing deals that are on a smaller scale, $1, $2, $3, $4 million transactions, it becomes a little bit harder because you need to find someone who has the right experience, but also they have to fit within your budget. So it was always a difficult challenge for me. And I've always been a user of professional services marketplaces like Upwork, Catalant, and these others. And I thought, well, why isn't there something that is specifically for due diligence for these smaller transactions? We're in an era, I think, where there's more and more M&A volume. There's a lot of creators, a lot of new products being developed. So there's just a lot of these micro acquisitions. So I saw an opportunity to launch something like this, to basically aggregate a qualified pool of due diligence service providers and help connect them with clients. And our clients really consist of individuals, businesses, private investors, family offices, boutique, private equity firms, anyone that's doing deals that are 1 to 25 million in transaction size. I think that's really kind of the niche where we're adding the most value.
Okay, I get it. Well, I guess I would say that a certain part of your universe has to be people that have probably never gone through an M&A transaction before, yeah?
100%, yes. We have a lot of first-time business buyers, a lot of people who are coming out of not business school, but these cohort programs that kind of teach people, educate people on how to buy a business. So we kind of step in and help them with the due diligence component of it. So they have a lot of questions around, well, how much should you budget for due diligence? When should I do it? Things like that. So we help them, kind of educate them on that part.
Sure. I mean, you're trying to bring the tools and resources from a more mature, the larger tickets. There's all these people that have a seat on the bus, that know what their process is, to know how to due diligence it, and you're bringing that downstream so that Main Street or small business sellers or buyers will have access to some of those. I mean, I think even a punch list of here's the things you would need in a due diligence type file would be a good start for many people. They don't even know what they don't know, right?
Exactly. We built out our knowledge center on our website specifically for this. We have a lot of articles that talk about, how to assemble your due diligence checklist. What is a due diligence checklist? When to ask for one. So, yeah, we have a lot of those resources to kind of just educate first-time business buyers. Mhm.
Good stuff. You brought up something that I'm curious about. As a rule of thumb, is there a percentage of sale price or something that somebody needs to invest? I mean, look, I understand this space and, it sounds like a great deal till you get in there. And then you're like, gosh, I wish I'd have spent more money and more time on due diligence, making sure this was the right deal, right? So is there kind of a rule of thumb from a cost standpoint, maybe that somebody should consider spending when attempting to acquire, try to buy something on the buy side?
That's a great question. I've never heard it kind of phrased that way as a percentage of transaction size. But generally, what I advise is to always kind of weigh the cost benefit of due diligence, right? I view it as an insurance policy. Well, how much do you want that policy to be for? So I'm not sure if it's really as much dependent on deal size as it is on your familiarity with the business, the holes that you have, and the kind of the gaps. Because we have a lot of accountants that are buying businesses. Well, they don't need financial due diligence, but they need an attorney. So, what is the gap in your kind of skill set where you need to fill to be comfortable with the purchase? And the price has to be rationalized, right? The price has to be makes sense in relation to the deal. But I'm not sure if it's 1% of the deal, 10%. That's really depends on the individual and the deal that they're doing.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think anybody that's buying a business comes with a little bit of a skill set, or they
Right.
probably wouldn't be intrigued in it in the first place. Right. So you
Exactly.
talked about the financial side or the legal side, where they have specific industry knowledge around that particular
Right.
vertical and understand. And it's, maybe it's an addition to an existing business. So all of that stuff is ultimately accretive. They're trying to fill the gaps that they have in their own ultimate skill set.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I can see that. So I guess if we were going to just kind of rattle off some of the top things that people would look like from a due diligence punch list, what would some of those things look like if we were going to start top down? What are some of the big ones you want to make sure you hit? And I'm sure there's nuance in this that we're going to miss depending upon industry specifics, but just trying to take
Yeah,
high level.
for sure. So we offer over 22 different types of due diligence kind of categories. Obviously, it's very dependent on the business, as you mentioned. But the big ones that I think everyone needs to cover is finance, legal, and technology. Especially if you're buying a tech business or an e-commerce store, you need to figure out the technology side of it. In terms of the types of projects we see, finance is by far and away the most requested type of due diligence. Probably, I don't know, maybe 70% of the projects we see are really finance related. Someone looking for valuation, someone looking for a quality of earnings report, proof of cash, things like that, different parts there. So I'd say, those three are really the big ones that everyone
Yeah.
should pay attention to.
If you're going to buy something, you need to make sure that it's really what you think you're buying, right? So
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. You
and I
want to
don't
make sure, the revenues and expenses line up.
Yeah, and I don't think it's uncommon for a business owner on the sell side to arbitrarily pick a number out of the sky and go, hey, I would sell this thing if I can walk away with X amount of money, but that might not be grounded in the financials or in reality.
Exactly. You see that, especially in smaller businesses where the business owner started, they put their sweat equity in it, right? A lot of times it's hard to value that sweat equity. It's easy to value the revenue, right? Okay, you're making $5. It's easy to put a valuation on it. But how do you value if someone spent, 10 years building up a business and, they want to somehow, they want to account for it. They want to make sure they're compensated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of
Makes
sticking points there.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, people what is it? People have an emotional bias to things that they already own or control, and they view
Yeah,
it to be more valuable than the same asset. If somebody else owned or controlled that same asset, it means more to them
yeah,
personally, right?
100%. Yeah, yeah,
So there's a checklist where we can find the type of due diligence we need. There's 22 different potential areas where you could find a due diligence provider. So then they identify the ones that they need. How do you identify the ones that make sense for your ecosystem? I know you talked about being a fan of Upwork and those other type crowdsourcing environments.
Right.
So how do you make sure you find, if they're looking for a financial or legal person, M&A, buy side, sell side, how do you know that that person's the right person?
So that's a great question. So first, we respond to demand, right? So when I first launched to the marketplace, I really focused on financial due diligence. So making sure I have enough service providers that can handle the financial aspect of it. As we've grown, now we have a lot of other requests. So we've diversified the marketplace away from finance to other areas. Now we have a vetting process for everyone that joins. It's the same for everyone. We have a face-to-face interview. Everyone submits an application. We look at their past work. If possible, we ask to talk to one or two of their past clients, get feedback. We do basic online research just to make sure there's no red flags, right? You'd be surprised how much you can find by doing a simple Google search or Bing or whatever. So we make sure to do that. So, we make sure that there's some guardrails to make sure that the providers we have on our platform have gone through a process, they have the right experience, and then if someone applies and says, they have experience doing financial due diligence, they actually have.
There you go. Understood.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
okay, a little bit of a self-serving question here. Is there a due diligence professional on there that works on the sell side that helps sellers legally not pay taxes, or is there any demand for that?
I would say that a vast majority of the projects we get are from the buy side.
Gotcha.
Having said that, 100% I could see there being demand for something like that. That's a natural type of project that we might see in the future. Yeah,
Sure, sure.
yeah,
Hey, I mean, I could even make the argument that my skill set is applicable on the buy side, because at the end of the day, you're going to negotiate a sale price with a seller. And if
right.
taxes are the difference between what you want to pay and what they want to buy it for, what you want to buy it for and what they want to sell it for, solving for the delta could be important, right?
Yeah, listen, I think people underestimate the amount of value they can add to this ecosystem because I have people who are, business owners that don't really have, M&A experience, but they know how to run a manufacturing or a sheet metal business really well. And I asked them, I tell them, listen, you got to join the platform because, yeah, even though maybe you don't have this, M&A experience, you're a subject matter expert in this particular field. So you can do operation due diligence. If I'm buying a sheet metal manufacturer, wouldn't I want to talk to someone who was maybe CEO of one for 20 years? Even though they don't have M&A experience. So I kind of take a wider lens to it because I think operational due diligence, which is something, we didn't talk about, but I think that's so important as well.
Oh yeah.
You really want someone that doesn't just have this, cookie cutter finance or legal experience. You want someone who's been in the business.
Right. It always,
Uh,
somebody that knows how to run and operate the business. One thing to make sure that the numbers and the metrics and everything makes sense, but if you don't understand the industry that you're in, I know people that do buy businesses without understanding anything about the industry, and that always blows my mind. But
we
it's
we
it's
have a
a,
lot of those.
it's a real thing. People do that.
You'd be
So
surprised. Yeah, yeah. And I apologize. There's a lot of sun. I don't know if on the video.
no,
Hopefully,
you're
it's
good.
okay.
I'm not,
The sun's coming out here in Miami. Finally.
well, it's in the Sunshine State. It's supposed to do that.
It is. It is.
Good stuff. So quick question. So how do service providers find you to know that they might want to be on this platform? How do they find you?
So service providers, a lot of times we'll reach out to them. So I
Okay.
actively look for service providers who are either recommended or active in the online communities, kind of the small business acquisition communities. We get a lot of referrals. So if we have an attorney on our platform and they have an accountant who they've worked with, maybe they'll refer them. So it's a lot of kind of word of mouth. I don't actively, do paid advertising to
Okay.
recruit people. It's really been word of mouth. At this point, we have over 220 service providers, and I think that's a good number. We're able to cover a pretty wide range of project types and budgets, right? For a typical project, we're able to present 6 to 10 proposals. which is
Okay.
pretty, you don't want to overwhelm clients as well. You don't want to present, 30 proposals from different firms. That can be a little overwhelming.
Well, it's the lending tree model a little bit, right? When banks
Yeah,
compete, you win. So you're just saying,
right.
hey, we've got these service providers and they can add specific knowledge to your business and value this transaction, and they're competing to try to win your business. So
For
something to be
sure.
said for the business model.
For sure, for sure. One thing I'd say is that, and a lot of people ask me this, hey, is it just a race to the bottom, right? Is it just everyone's trying to undercut each other? And I haven't seen that. I haven't seen clients pick the service providers that are the cheapest. They generally pick the service providers that they have a good rapport with, that has maybe specific experience in the industry that they're pursuing. So I think that matters more than price, because if you think about it, you're spending, X number of your bank account on a business. You don't want to cheap out on due diligence. Those are two areas. Lawyers and accountants don't save money there.
Sure.
Yeah.
People are always trying to cut corners and be fiscally responsible or conservative on stuff, but
Yes.
yeah, there's some places you should cut, and some places, don't cut on airplane parts either.
Exactly. Exactly.
Completely random, but don't go saving money on airplane parts.
Agreed. Agreed. Agreed.
So I guess the next logical question is how do the buyers and sellers that are benefiting from the aggregation of experts on your platform, how do they know you exist? How do they find you?
Yeah. So again, it's a lot of organic word of mouth. We have partnerships with a lot of the major online business marketplaces. So places where a buyer would go and find business listings. So BizNexus, Interexo, Tiny Acquisitions, many more. So we get discovered that way through partnerships. We're also active in a lot of online communities where promote DueDilio, answer due diligence questions, kind of spread the word, so to speak. We haven't spent a lot on paid marketing yet. I think we have enough work to do just with kind of the word of mouth for now.
Well, I think there's, if you could piggyback on some of the existing platforms that are already
Yeah,
built. I mean, like I don't know all of them, but what Biz Buy Sell is an online
it's a big
platform where
one. Yep.
somebody might go look, right?
Right. 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 Yep.
That would
100%.
that would make sense if they're there doing that, kicking the tires and looking around, then they probably might take that next step. And if they take that next step, finding the right, resources and tools to help them out. So
Hmm. Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah, and it's an easy sell because, well, we're not selling anything. We're free to use for clients. So it's you could either spend weeks yourself finding the right service provider, or you can just submit one project and in 3 days have 5, 10 proposals in front of you from pre-vetted providers. So it's kind of it's a very it's kind of a no-brainer, I think, at least.
No, I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. So, and I don't want to get too far into this, but just
Mm.
intellectual curiosity a little bit. And so, from your side, what's the revenue model? It sounds like if a person doing the due diligence can come and check it out for free per se, then after you're vetting the due diligence people,
Yep.
sounds like maybe they're paying some kind of a fee to access the platform to be presented.
Yes, that's a great question. So we have a typical marketplace model, and we're very transparent about this. We get paid a referral fee from the service provider. So if a client goes on a platform and hires a service provider, we'll get paid a referral fee. We do not charge service providers any type of fee to join. So there's no what I would call pay to play model, because if you do that, that eliminates a lot of service providers. It's personally, I don't think it's the right way to do it. So our incentives here are aligned 100%. It's aligned for the client, it's aligned for the service provider, and it's aligned with us. So it's just it's a very frictionless model.
I gotcha. Makes sense. So as you build this out, where does this go? What's the opportunity? Where does this expand to? I mean, how many service providers do you ultimately need? And, what's the next step? Are there additional product iterations that now have been asked for by the demand of the people that have used the ecosystem? Where's it going?
Yeah, it's a great question. So first of all, I do think there's a lot of opportunity in the market that we're going after. We've only been around for about a year. I launched DueDilio April of last year, so it's still really early days, really early. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to simply improve the usability of the product and make it as easy to use for clients as possible. I think there's a lot of opportunity to maybe expand to other areas of due diligence. Maybe down the line, there'll be opportunity to go even beyond due diligence, right? Maybe it's going to be M&A advisors, maybe something else. So offer other services, post-integration support, value creation, things like that. So for now, I'd say we have our hands full, but in the future, I think there's opportunities to go after other markets.
No, I think there's, the way you're describing the model, look, there's clients that have CPAs that they work with or attorneys they work with, or maybe an M&A consultant, but there's a lot of other blind spots of things that they don't ultimately have. So I think having a marketplace where they could go and find people, I think it makes a lot of sense. It's the last thing you want to do is spend some money on something and not have it. Let me ask you a piggyback question. I got one just popped in my head. Kind of curious. So do you ask people if they're using like financing, like SBA or whatever, to buy your small businesses?
Yeah, we do. We do 100%. We ask if they have lenders or investors. If they say yes, the follow-up question is it through the SBA? So yes, that's part of the kind of new project questionnaire.
Because there are certain due diligence requirements that you have to have if you're going to get an SBA loan that somebody that wasn't going to use that type of financing might not have in place, right?
Exactly. And service providers that are writing proposals or bidding on the project, they want to know that. They want to know exactly, okay, is this analysis going to be used internally? Is this going to be used externally? So that helps them write an accurate proposal and have a better idea of the project scope. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. When I learned about the M&A or the SBA process, for those of you that are listening that aren't familiar, the banks that you can get an SBA loan through make you go through this business plan exercise and marketing exercise and make sure that you have a plan documented that you feel like you can, if you're taking government money to buy this business, they want a high level of success. So they kind of force a due diligence process on you where not everyone does that. And I think it would be good if just everybody went through that kind of process before they bought. So
yeah, for sure. I think having a thought out business plan would benefit all sides.
Yeah. There's always people that do well in life, but I would argue that the people that have a plan tend to do better than the people that wing it.
I agree. Yeah.
So good stuff. Well, Roman, anything else that we wanted to talk about? Anything else that you wanted to share? I don't want to miss any nuance.
No, I think, if anyone has any questions, I'm easy to reach, www.duedilio.com. I'm on Twitter, on LinkedIn, everywhere. So we talk to a lot of people even before the due diligence process, before they have a business under LOI, just to help them think through and create a budget for due diligence. So really, any way that we can help, we're here, we're available.
There you go. So you did mention Twitter. So were you part of the due diligence team that helped Elon Musk acquire Twitter? Was that you?
No. Those deals are a little too large for DueDilio. Yeah.
I think that deal doesn't look like it's gonna turn out so well, but it's
we'll
early.
We'll see.
Yeah,
Exactly. Don't underestimate Elon. Yeah.
No, I don't underestimate Elon. Just the early stages of that deal haven't looked so promising. A lot of fallout from that. So
Agree.
Good stuff. Well, everybody, today this was Matt Chancey, another episode of the Tax Alpha Solutions podcast. Today's guest, Roman Beylin. with DueDilio, if you're in the M&A space, if you're thinking about buying a business, thinking about selling a business, if you are a service provider that helps people buy and or sell a business because your skill set, if you're a former operator of a business and you want to lend your expertise or knowledge to somebody that's trying to buy a business as an outside consultant, all those things are appreciated. And I think this is an ecosystem that you might want to check out.
Awesome. I really appreciate you having me on, Matt.
Absolutely. Well, Roman, thanks for coming on and sharing. And, look, it's innovation is a great thing. It takes a little while to iron the kinks out of stuff sometimes, but a marketplace where people can find the right people to help them buy a business and give them that leg up to ultimately be a tad more successful is a great deal. So we appreciate your effort.
Thank you.
You got it. Well, Roman, thanks so much. Once again, everybody, Tax Alpha Solutions Podcast. Until the next time, be well.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Tax Alpha Solutions, brought to you by Matt Chancey. We hope you enjoyed listening to this week's guests and insight. If you liked what you heard, please consider subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts.